Welcome to the Business Services Café by ABSL, powered by Brandfizz. My name is Anita Zvezdovic, and I will be your host for this recharging coffee break. We are here to bring the thriving business services sector closer to you with freshly brewed insights from the most influential leaders of the industry, also some espresso shot questions, and also some sip and think advices for takeaway. In each episode, we bring the most influential leaders closer to you. Also today, we have the honor to welcome two of our guests, Miklós Ecsődi, who is the head of Occupier Services at Colliers, and
Thank you very much for having me.
And also David Horváth, who is the head of Workplace Services at Colliers.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us a bit about your background and your connection?
I'm leading the Occupier Services division at Colliers. So my team is responsible for finding and negotiating the best building and the best conditions within that building with each of the landlords. So basically I'm responsible for the business negotiations during such a project.
And then?
Yeah, I'm responsible for the workplace team, so workplace services team. So it's including the change management, workplace advisory, and the design team. So we are hand in hand with Miklós team working together to understand, define, and execute the concept for the workplace.
So it's like a whole.
But
you handle
if you wish to put it into one very short sentence, I would say that I need to negotiate the most money for our clients, and David needs to spend it.
Exactly, in a smart way.
Yeah.
Today's topic, and our topic for today, is what makes a workplace truly inspiring. So grab your favorite cup of coffee, lay back, settle down, and tune in for this exciting conversation about the workplace and what makes a workplace truly inspiring. So let's get started. First, before we go into the core conversation of this episode, we will have some warm-up questions for you. How do you typically take your coffee?
Actually, there is a tea here right now.
So
I try to consume as few caffeine as possible.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not possible, but now it's a cold and friendly environment, so I took the bravery to take the tea.
You are hiding in the coffee mug, the tea. How do you?
It depends on the time, so how many time I have. Basically, so started the espresso every morning, and a second in the morning, and then I don't know, so something has happened after that. So, but the espresso without any milk, sugar kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so
quick.
The pure espresso, quick. Exactly.
As you're partnering a lot at Colliers, tell us a few topics. What are your coffee meetings about?
It's a good question. So, because maybe you know that, so we developed or designed and finished our office 1 year ago, and we placed the coffee machine in the middle of the office spaces. That was the concept, that's part of the concept, because we would like to escalate the spontaneous discussions between the colleagues in different topics. So the topic questions, so our colleagues start discussion anything, but we would like to escalate this kind of conversation about work, about the experience, the movie, any kind of stuff. So but my experiences is one of the most valuable discussion in the office, actually.
That was exactly the reason why you designed the office, the coffee point, that the coffee point is going to be right in the middle of the office. So whenever people cross, they can meet with each other and start the day with a conversation with their colleagues. So we can say that it is a center point.
I'm really proud because it's many times I heard this sentence. So, I'm gonna grab a coffee. Would you like to join to me? And it's gonna be the ritual.
It's a quick exchange.
Yeah, exactly.
And then something can grow out from that quick exchange. Your background is very extensive and very prominent, let's say, on the Hungarian market. Also, the two of you work together for like 10 years now. Tell us a bit about your background and your connection to each other and also to Colliers and to the market.
Actually, I think it's more than 10 years already. So I joined Colliers 15 years ago. By that time, the Hungarian SSC and BPO market were in the developing phase, let's put it that way. We started concentrating to this industry because we believed that this is going to be the future of the office demand within the Central European region. When we realized that and we started to following the SSC sector, there were a few logos put on the Budapest map where SSC's BPOs were located. If you look at this map today, what we need to prepare for those kind of discussions, you won't see Budapest beneath it. So that was the time when we started to concentrate on this industry. So it needed to be developed, and sorry for the long introduction, but where I wanted to get there with it is that we worked together, David, on a potential SSC for General Motors. I think that was for 100 or 150 people, and that was 13 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And we worked together, David, as interior designer, when we were able to identify their future office. When David came up with the idea that how about if there will be a meeting room in the center of the office space, which would be actually a real General Motors bus. And we don't have to do anything else, we just need to pull out the facade on the 7th floor, order a crane and elevate the bus into the office space on the 7th floor. That would look great. That was the moment when we realized that David is going to be our partner for Workplace Advisory.
For inspiring workplace advisory.
Yeah, that was very tricky because the bus, it was built up by General Motors in 70 years ago, so that was a unique, and we have found only one pieces in the world. So on one hand side it's a big one, and it's another hand side that was very expensive. So, but the idea was great, I think.
Great.
It's never happened.
Yeah, so I'm very happy we talk about it today because how the business service sector, as you also started touching upon, the past 15 years evolved so significantly from having like basically desks to creating inspiring workplaces. And if you think of the best workplace you've ever seen, what made it stand out for you?
It's ours, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's
the Colliers office.
Yeah, the Colliers office. Yeah, but I would like to highlight the questions one word, so the personally. Yeah. So of course it's our office. It's the best office spaces for us or for me. I hope so in other Colliers, the employee as well. But it's not easy to explain what is the best for someone else. So we need to define and discuss, and we have a proper research to understand what does it mean the best for you or anyone else or someone else. So it's always a discussion. But for me, ours, of course.
Yeah.
Actually, for me, it's I cannot tell you one office that is my favorite office. And I wouldn't say that it is our office.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, not because of that, but rather for the reason that what I really enjoy at my work is that it constantly evolves. Yeah. So there is always something new trend on the market. When we started to work in this industry, the main topic was if you put, where do you put your closed meeting room with a density of 6 square meter per workstation, open space, or if it is going to be an open space or a cellular office. So where we are today compared to that market is entirely different. What the office meant 15 years ago was a cost center. We mostly talked with CFOs. Today, it's a hiring tool. It's the second home for the people. It's a socializing place. And we have much more conversation or much more detailed conversation with HR managers and with MDs because especially in today's labor market, the work environment became a hiring tool and a tool for improving the collaboration and the productivity. Yeah. And there were many steps in the past years how we get there. And there was always one or two people on the market who took the initiative to innovate in their office space. Of course, we were able to help our clients that what are the trends in the West or what were the industry best practices, but that always required clients who were looking forward and who were able to innovate their workplaces. And whenever I realize that this is something new on the market, which will be spread on the market in the next 3-4 years to other solutions or other offices as well, those ones are always my favorites.
Let's kind of go into the topic of today and the insights. And first of all, like, how is the current office market?
The current office market is described only by figures would be kind of a misleading perception. Well, let's have a comparison between Hungary and the other CEE countries, because we do have the most interesting position compared to the other countries around us. We started to step into the COVID period with the lowest vacancy, the lowest available space, and as of today, we do have the highest one. There are some countries where the change was kind of insignificant. Here, the data shows that the vacancy grew from 5.5%, which meant that our less clients of 3,000-4,000 square meters in 2019 were able to identify 2 or 3 buildings where there was sufficient space for them to occupy. As of today, this rate is around 17%. And that's a totally different market. Now landlords are competing towards occupiers. If you only look at these numbers, then you can say that you can go wherever you like if you wish to relocate, which is not necessarily true in practice, because the quality of office spaces is started to taken away, and there are very few new developments on the market. So if you are an occupier today and you are thinking about meeting your ESG goals, meeting your HR requirements, adjusting your office size or your office design to the latest trends, and you want to find the best building for that, you better be fast, because other tenants are also on the market, and new buildings will appear on the market in a very low number compared to what we experienced in the past 3-4 years.
Let us turn to the right office space, because I think whoever is thinking about finding a new office space, now I understand, or we understand, that there is a competition out there, and how to find the right office space itself. And is there any, I don't know, secret to designing that or finding that?
The only secret is the time. Okay. You have to spend the time to identify and not just find something, find the right solutions. You have to identify what do you want to see, what is the right for you. So it's an iterative process with the client, the occupiers, between the other professionals, so the advisors, experts, designers. There's lots of people, lots of stakeholders in this process. So the whole process to identify and the definition making for the right office space is the beginning when you define the goals, what is the aims, why are you doing this one, and then walk through the whole roadmap, the whole process to identify the solution, the different solution. This solution is going to be, it's a different one, like financial one, the design, architectural one, or sustainable one. So because most of the companies looking for the solution for the ESG perspective. So it's so sustainability is getting important. That became important in the recent years. So I would like to say the secret is to have to start everything in time and walk through this process. Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
And you also mentioned that it's one site doesn't fit them all.
Yeah.
And like going through kind of like a well-proven standardized roadmap will ensure that it fits your needs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And how do you see the top trends? Because I think that's also important. Trends for employees and trends for employers when it comes to the workspace?
I started with the employees. As Miklos mentioned earlier, so the office space is struggling to explain why is still alive, why is important for the employees. Because due to COVID, most of the people working from home, everybody was comfortable at home. But it's very funny because I think when Miklos mentioned this situation, so you haven't had shared environment at home because you change the position, so the living room, the kitchen counter, and your kids' room and kind of stuff. But if you came back to the office, you really hate this shared situation. So it's definitely not a demand, not a trend, but it's happening, this shared environment from employee perspective. And on the other hand side, so the office spaces has to be the professional space, the expert space for the people. So the main focus is to provide a space where you can be effective, you can make money in a simple way. So this is the trend for employees part. So lots of requirement, expectation and needs in a table. So the color, the table soccer, the beanbags, so everything in a table is still in the table actually, but focusing on the more and more usable space and adaptive space. So this is the important from the employee perspective.
And the flexibility of the space that you can adjust during the occupancy, because and sorry, this is not about employees but rather the employers. It's very hard to predict that what is going to happen with your company's requirement in the upcoming, not even the 5 years, because that is the usual length of the lease agreements, or even longer, but 7 years at least, because you need to start the process 2 years before you're expiring, and you need to plan ahead. And this is again why at Colliers these two processes, finding and negotiating the best office space and inventing that space, goes hand in hand, because this flexibility and adaptability not only can come through lease conditions, which is a very important part to negotiate, but we need to work together with David from space perspective to be able to adjust it to these requirements, even if the contract does not allow this anymore on that long lease term.
Yeah. There was a evolution, and the evolution I think is a key, especially in this sector. The business service center market evolved in the past 10 years. Value-add services, huge growth, more, let's say, more and more trust was given to the companies from the headquarters, what can be done in Hungary. Did it have an impact on also the workplaces?
The short answer, yes. But before I answer, it's a longer version, so I would like to explain what's happened in the last 20 years actually. So as today, the design market, the office design market, I would like to say, is somewhere in the top league in globally. So it's basically, we should be proud of that. So very high quality office spaces is around Budapest, mostly in Budapest. So if I've discussed the office market, so we are focusing on Budapest. So we are in the top league now. What happened in the recent 10 or I don't know, 20 years? So in early 2000, the dot-com booms, the Google offices, everybody is speaking about, so the Google slides in the office spaces, beanbags, kind of stuff. Everybody remember
startup environment.
Yeah. But the Google is a tech company with a lot of amount of money, right? So that was the easy part to do something special, and actually that was in America, so not in Europe. Suddenly, mostly the tech companies wanted to copy that somehow. So to put beanbags, colors, I don't know, so fancy things.
Spaces.
Yeah. And after 10 years, these companies realized, okay, it's fine, it's very fancy, looksy, colorful, nice, but how can we translate into usable? Because it wasn't that. And then came up the idea, the activity-based working environment. So it's a methodology and tool, so how can you translate the office space into the usage requirement? Like if you have a desk work, you need a desk, but if you have a different type of works like phone calls, meetings, small meetings, ad hoc meetings, you need different type of spaces. This is the mixture of the activity-based working environment. So the recent 10 years, that was the moment when not just tech companies and IT companies has a privilege to provide the cool office spaces. So that was the moment when we, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, we realized together with Miklos okay guys, we are able to provide you the similar office spaces like Google, but much more usable. Yeah. This is what we are seeing. And in today, it's not a question to involve the designer team during this kind of processes. So it's mandatory, I would like to say, but the only question is the level of the design or the money that you would like to invest to the design. But involve the designer, it's not a question anymore. Okay. So this is the core differences between the today's office and the 15 or 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Your original question was how the space evolved together with the sector?
Yeah, because kind of the prestige and the sophistication of the sector also evolved. So from the transactional, operational call center kind of type of jobs, now there are engineering hubs, there is value-add services in Hungary in this sector. And as far as I understand, also the quality of the office spaces grew after this and became more inspiring.
As the added value increased in the past decades, the office needed to attract higher and higher qualified people, especially those people who grew up in the industry. Because let's not forget, it's considered to be quite a new industry. So there are people who started this industry in Hungary and still in the industry.
It's a mature.
Exactly. And that would be a very interesting discussion to a few of the end users who spend a lot of time at one company or at one industry. That what was the evolution of
maybe
of
they
the
have even the photos in their phones, like first office, the second, this is how, and then community areas and everything.
I think that's a great idea. We're going to do that.
Yeah, that's great. But there is an evolution. I think you have lots of experience in redesigning also workplaces. And what is the biggest misunderstandings that companies have redesigning their workplaces?
Lots of one. But I think it's one of the most misunderstanding topic is the hybrid workplaces. Doesn't matter how we translate what does it mean for hybrid workplaces, but everyone uses this word. So hybrid workplace has a direct connection to space reduction. So it's meaning if you introduce in a hybrid environment the shared desk or shared things like shared desk, shared office, shared meeting rooms kind. It's a direct connection to the space reduction, but it's not true. So it's very simple, it's not true. So, but most of the companies...
You mean there is a direct connection, but not linear connection?
Yes, not linear. Yeah, there's a connection, but not a direct line. Yes, exactly. So, and the reason behind that, it's simple. So in the recent 20 years, the companies try to put more and more workstation in a smaller space as is possible. And then if you grab some from that mess, it's not equal to reduce the space. So if you are thinking about to introduce the sharing environment for the colleagues for less workstation, example 10% or 20% or 30%, it's not equal to reduce the space 10, 20 or 30%. Okay. Because in a hybrid shared environment, you need more and more different kind of function, like more meeting room, more video conf room, bigger canteen space, lounge kind of stuff. And yes, exactly. And in a parallel that you create more and more work for you, for the HR perspective, for the facility perspective, because you need to buy new adaptable chairs, workstation, monitor arms. So you have to invest to you can able to introduce this shared environment. So this is a big mistake because it's many times we started all of the discussion, okay, we would like to reduce the space, introduce the shared environment, that it's fine. No, it's not.
It's not directly.
No, not directly connected. Yes.
Yeah, and how about time?
You need to think about the project as a whole. Setting up the concept, going to the market, finding the best place. What people usually tend to forget about is that one process consists of two major parts. The other one is inventing and finding it, and the second is implementing it. And that takes quite a significant amount of time, which is usually surprising for C-level leaders.
Maybe underestimated.
Yeah, exactly. But why wouldn't it? Because
not
companies
a
don't have
daily
to
job.
deal with that on a daily basis. So it's totally understandable. But hopefully these kind of podcasts help to improve that perception. Yes. The other misconception which I usually meet during the first encounters with a potential new client is that it's quite a common answer that, oh, we are fine, thank you, we're going to stay anyway. And it can have that your goal is that you don't want to relocate, because relocation is a hustle. Yeah. You probably need to amortize some investment. You need to take a quite significant amount of capacity for the people who are allocated for this project. You need to deal with change management. And it's absolutely true that you need to have a reason for that investment to do. If you know that you don't want to do this investment or doesn't make sense because your office is quite fresh, still an upcoming expiry is a good opportunity to fine-tune your existing either space through contributions which are achievable from the landlords, especially on today's market situation, or right size your office space, even if you don't want to relocate. And you need to think about that just as prior to your expiry date as you would relocate. Because one is the workload is very similar to a relocation, maybe not that much, but it's very similar. And maybe you do not fear that you have a hard deadline because you will stay in your same office, but your negotiation position starting to inflated as you are approaching your expiry date. Okay. So I think those, in case you wish to stay, a lot of companies would like to stay in their current spaces because there was a huge amount of relocation 5-10 years ago, and those offices are relatively new, especially that companies that use it for 2 or 3 years during this period. But anyway, that can be just as a valuable and improving project for any of the companies on the market as an upgrade in a building.
Yeah. So if you don't move, let's say don't relocate, doesn't mean you are not adjusting your office to become an inspiring workplace or more inspiring.
Or maybe just fine-tuning, just a facelift here and there, or adjusting the space. Yes.
Yeah, I would like to add something. So if you are staying in the existing office spaces and if it's I don't know 10 years old, example. So in that case, the effort to analyzing in architectural and mechanical part, it's much more bigger than you relocate, because the existing office spaces is many times, so the landlord and developer saw the building for another one and another one and another one, and 10 years later sometimes it happened, so the existing owner or the current owner is the third owner of the building. They don't have any kind of plans, aviation plans. They have the plan for machinery, the electrics, or architectural parts. And this is why we have to put more and more, or any designer or advisor, more and more effort to understand what is in the current spaces. So it's meaning during and parallel with Miklos' process to the transaction and leasing, the negotiating for the initiative from the landlord, the designer team has to understand the existing current spaces. If we are relocate, it's not necessary because it's brand new, so all of the plans and designs it's already available, but the existing it's most of the time not, unfortunately. So this is the situation in Budapest mostly, and in Hungary, of course. So this is why these processes, in one perspective, the similar time demands than the relocate. Yes.
Yeah. Before we conclude this episode, I would like to ask you 2 very quick questions with 2 quick responses. So this would be our espresso shots before we check out. What is, and individually you have to answer, one thing that instantly makes a workspace inspiring?
The smart design, I think.
Design.
Yeah, that reacts to the real demands and the current the current demands. Yes.
Yeah. And what is the biggest workspace I don't know, myth you would like to delete, forget, kind of wash out from the market?
Just the aforementioned approach that we stay anyway, so we don't need to touch our space.
Okay, so it doesn't mean that if we stay, we don't touch our space.
The other mistakes or myths is the assigned space. So most of the companies and leaders think that so if you don't have a dedicated or assigned space to the employees, this employee is going to be much more ineffective. So this is why they think that so the effective work needs the assigned space, but it's not true.
Yeah,
so
it's a myth.
It's a myth.
Thank you so much for sharing the insights. I think we would like to leave our audience with some takeaways. What do you hope, which is the single most important lesson that our listeners take away from this episode and from this discussion?
Hopefully whoever is watching us takes away the conclusion that it's worthwhile to think ahead on time before their lease expires, and it's worthwhile to involve not just the finance teams or the brokers into the process, but also experts from different fields that can provide an integrated solution for such a complex problem.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, how inspiring is our workplace? It does have, and as a conclusion from our episode, it does have high impact on the employees, also on the employer's performance.
Oh, so absolutely.
Yeah.
There is a direct correlation, and thanks for sharing all of this.
Yep.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, that was a great conversation, and that wraps up today's episode at the Business Services Café. So a big thank you to Miklos and David joining us and sharing valuable insights, and it does have a huge impact on the business services centers. If you enjoyed in today's episode, then subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for the next episodes as well, as we are bringing the most influential leaders to the Business Services Café. See you next time.